Hey guys, welcome back to Micho Makes. My name is Micho. I'd like to make stuff. Today I've got part number 106 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini. This is the 1/8 scale massive model that we're building together. Without further ado, let's just jump right into this one. Alright, starting off, we've got cover here. Got ourselves another box. Got our part. And check that out. Ooh, look at those. Got ourselves some rear mud flaps and our rear bumper, at least the bumper skin there. And you can see even the tow hook. And we've got our magazine. All right, let's check this magazine out. All right, let's check it out. Okay, we've got another installment of kind of Toyota's racing pedigree heritage, what you want to call it, especially with in terms of the AE86. But this kind of breaks down, and it's actually pretty cool read, the introduction of Toyota in the kind of Group A classification for motor racing, specifically, with a lot of specifically race cars in general. You have different classes and different modification levels you can have in terms of racing, and I guess Toyota, the AE86 was classified in a Group A, and that's why everybody talks about the Group A engine that Takumi put in his car, because it's basically a racing engine. And this talks about how they were able to increase or try to increase the performance of that vehicle, and also how the classification happened, because in order to even get into the different groups, you had to meet certain criteria on production, right? So you had to. They also had groupings around how much modifications you could do to as well. So for the AE86, especially in Group A, I think it was like I think they mentioned in the article you have to have like 5,000 vehicles produced or something like that. And the amount of interior could be removed was very limited to get that classification to as well. So you'd have a lot of they try to keep it production car, but you'd have like performance upgrades too as well. And one thing what's really cool about this article is they kind of talk about trying to squeeze as much performance they could out of the vehicle. And one thing they actually do check out is the tire width and understanding the tire size and making sure that they could squeeze as much kind of grip surface area on the tire, because this is the 15-inch rim, and I think they were limited to that, and then a 17-inch rim, and how that contact point is so much wider on the track versus like in a 15-inch rim, even though the tire size itself is similar. So you can see how you've got a 15-inch rim here with a lot of sidewall versus a 17-inch rim with not very much sidewall, and how much that contact point feeds on the ground versus a 15-inch, and then how even though that you have the different rim sizes, you can see the contact point is so much larger at a 17-inch rim versus a 15-inch rim tier 2 as well. But I think they were, from what I could read from Google Translate, they were kind of stuck with the 15. But again, they did some modifications to hopefully alleviate and get as much performance they could out of the vehicle itself. They also talk about how they had to do cam adjustments to make sure they kind of push out as much power as they could. So it's a really cool article to kind of understand the pedigree and racing prowess of the AE86 and how it got that classification. One thing that you kind of notice in this page specifically is that one of their biggest competitors was the Volvo 240 Turbo. You can see it right there in the image there. And also that if you look at all the racing numbers here, like what you see is like the Advan Corolla, which is driven by Keiichi Tsuchiya, the Drift King, and really kind of where he made his mark in the AE86 world, and being a Group A racer and winning stuff too as well. But yeah, you can tell. You read the article, take a look and see. Pause the video if you want to Google Translate it. It's really cool to see all these vehicles and how they kind of Toyota had embraced the AE86 as a racing car for a long time, and I think it's really cool. So enjoy that the article and stuff. It's really cool to read. All right, so next art we have up is a article on the Celica XX or MA61. I think this is a Celica Supra in, yeah, you take a look at the rims. In the US, this is the Celica Supra. They just called it Celica in Japan. But you can see the Grand Super Grand Sport, they called it. But yeah, this is really before, like, they branched off the Celica brand name and then the Super name too as well. We haven't seen a Celica in the U.S. for a while, but they had just released a Supra in 2026. So those are on the road. One thing to note is pretty cool on this Celica XX is the like precursor to GPS on navigation. I guess how this work would be, you would pre-program this Navicom with, the distance that you're going, and I guess it would like mark down as you drove how close you were to your destination. I have no idea how that worked, but I guess they'd pre-program that. Not necessarily a precursor to GPS, but at least a gauge on like how far you are from something that you should be going to. Pretty cool, pretty inventive, but definitely not as accurate as GPS. Yeah, and this is like what the Celicas that we've seen in the U.S. too as well. So very, very retro engine, very Toyota-esque interior too as well. 1981 to 1986 Celicas. I hope they bring them back. They're bringing back the Fairlady Z's. Not even Fairlady Z's, but there's the Z's. Nissan is in 2026, and hopefully we'll start seeing Celicas soon enough, maybe. But actually, I think they've went a lot more toward like the Gazoo racing, Yaris's or Corollas versus the Celica. So anyway, all right, jumping into the part. Looks like we got our rear bumper. We've got our rear mud flaps too as well, tow hooks too as well. So looks like we're going to be installing all that there, and then getting them all installed, and looks like we're getting them installed on the bottom of the vehicle too as well. And so, yeah, look at this is what we're going to end up with. So let's get the parts and take a look at them. All right, starting out here, got our rear bumper, and whoa, take a look at that coloring on there. Let's zoom in a little bit. It's kind of interesting. It's not rubber. It's obviously plastic, and I believe these were kind of rubber-esque plastic. But you can see the texture. Look at the texture on that. I don't know if it's a flaw in the painting that they did. Kind of interesting. You can see it kind of more in the light right there. Let me make sure this is in focus for you guys. I don't know if they're all going to be like that. Maybe it's supposed to be like that. You can definitely not see that texture on the inside too. It's just regular, but they did paint the outside, and you can see how that texture looks. It doesn't feel like anything. It's very smooth, but you can see what it looks like, and maybe that is what it's supposed to look like for the rubberized backside, rubberized bumper there. But it's nice and plastic. So got that. Let's take a look at these mud flaps. Pretty iconic. Hard to grab. Oh yeah, these are rubber. Like, I can actually bend that. Check this out. These are rubber mud flaps. That's so cool. So again, they look similar in texture wise, but they're really not. This is 100% bendable, but the other one's plastic. Yeah, they gave us rear mud flaps. That's so cool. And with the Trueno embossed on there. Got the other one too. Really nice looking. They are marked right and left too, what you can see right there. And we've got our tow hooks here. Rear tow hooks. And it looks like this one here, this little hook here is metal, but the backing is plastic. Cool little detail. Got a right and a left for when you get pulled off the track. You have a way to hook on to your bumper and get pulled out. And then for our screws, we have some CM ones and some AP screws. And that's it. All right, let's get started. All right, starting out, they just kind of have us line it up like this in the picture just to make sure that we're all in alignment of where we need to be. So we've got that set there, and we actually just take these mud flaps. We've got the left one on this side and the right one on this side, and we're just kind of flipping this up just like so, because this is the way that the rear bumper is going to sit on the vehicle, and then mount them just like that. All right, so, and we're going to take some AP screws and get this mounted. Wow, interesting. You can actually, if I zoom in on that and I focus on it, you can actually see the kind of threads cutting into the plastic right there. I don't think it's going to do it on this side, though. I'm not missing the hole, but it's just kind of interesting to see. Hopefully it doesn't break anything there. All right, cool. That is that one mounted. You can see it there. Let's focus on that. All right, get the other one mounted. Okay, look at that. We've got our rear mud flaps mounted, both sides. Pretty nice. All right, so we're going to take a tow hook now, and we're going to use some AP screws here. And these tow hooks are pointed up, so we're going to be just kind of swooping them in, putting them in like that. I don't think there's no right and left with these. And they use these AP screws as well. All right, got those both mounted. Let's take a look at that rear end. Make sure it's in focus for you. You can see the mud flaps and the tow hooks. There, looks real good. All right, next we got mounted on the body. Give me a second while I grab it. Okay, we've got the kind of body frame over here, and they wanted us this upside down. And God, I just noticed I can't even get this thing in frame very well. It's such a huge model, but we mount it right here with 4 screws all around, and looks like this kind of just gets laid up right here. I think just going to verify exactly where. It looks like we have some points here. Oh yeah, so they're going to be off these little stands right here. You can see that right there. There's one right there too. So they're just going to fall on that, on all 4. And we screw them in with those CM screws. Kind of awkward because the seats are the racing bucket seats, and they're not really kind of letting it fall flat. So we'll do our best. Alrighty. Got the bumper locked in there. Kind of weird angle for the screws, and this one kind of got a little, not stripped out, but just doesn't look very rough. Let's flip it over and take a look. Again, my lens is as wide as it goes right now, so I can't really zoom in or anything or zoom out further. you can take a look at the bumper. Look at those mud flaps on the tires, the Watanabes. Looks pretty good. Put that down. So we still have a bunch to put on. It's on the other vehicle. Literally probably putting the shell on very, very soon. But that is part number 106 of the Toyota Sprinter Trueno AE86 by DeAgostini. I want to thank you guys for sticking with me. I know that part by part we're getting there. There's 4 parts left. We're getting real close to mounting this body. So look for that in part number 107. Let's see here. What do we got going on? Okay. Looks like we have the what's weird. What is this for? I don't know. Because I thought the surrounds around the lights were already installed. Maybe I'm wrong. Because it looks like headlight surrounds. Oh, front mud flaps. Stuff like that. Because we already installed the carbon fiber ones. So, don't know what we're going to do with some of these parts, but maybe we skip some stuff. But we got the front mud flaps. We got some other stuff getting installed too as well. So stay tuned for that in part number 107. But I'd like to thank you guys for continuing to support and watch the videos. We are really, really close to finishing this model. My name is Micho Makes. If you haven't liked this video, please like and subscribe. It really helps the channel grow. We'll see you guys in part number 107 next week. Bye for now.